Well, this weekend, you've got our Miami Hurricanes coming off of one of the worst losses in school history, taking on a 4-1 North Carolina team. Miami's 2-2. And North Carolina just got a nice conference win against Virginia Tech. And yet, Miami is favored by 3 points. And when a lot of our listeners and viewers see that, the most common question I've gotten is why? So that's why we want to get to the bottom of this with Lee Sterling, because he is an expert, professional handicapper. Lee hosts Locked On Bets here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and his website, ParamountSports.com, is awesome. So, okay, Lee, explain it to us like we're five, because
Right.
when most Miami fans see that the Canes are actually favored against North Carolina, they're like, wait, we're gonna get killed. What's going on? So why is Miami favored?
Okay, so the goal of a lines maker is to get half the money bet on one side and half on the other side. And they open the line at like 3.5, 4, and it has been bet down to Miami as just a 3-point favorite. So money is coming in on North Carolina, which we expected it to at that line. I think it's going to stabilize and stay here. Why do I say that? Remember, Miami's playing at home. North Carolina, one of the worst road underdogs we've seen in college football in the Mac Brown era. So I don't know how, but they've actually been a good covering team at home as Mac Brown. It's not like they have this great home field advantage. It's not very loud there. But the line should probably be about a pick 'em as far as based on talent. And if you give the home team a 3-point spread there for being the home team, North Carolina is probably a 3-point better team right now. But, Miami has a history. People bet the Hurricanes. People bet Notre Dame. People bet, like the Steelers, the Raiders, the Cowboys, teams they're familiar with. And even though it hasn't been a great 18, 20 years for the Hurricanes, they still have that appeal and people bet them. But, is it the right side to play North Carolina? Maybe not. So I went back and I studied the Notre Dame game twice. That was the one team that really dominated North Carolina. And how did they do it? They ran the football, power spread, and similar quarterback to Miami. Well, maybe not as talented, playing a backup now to Tyler Van Dyke when he's playing at a high level. And they ran the ball all over North Carolina. North Carolina's defense is awful. So the only player that I saw, is there a player that you have to kind of game plan for? They have a kid, Cameron Kelly, a transfer. He came over a couple years ago, 2 years ago from Auburn, played fairly well last year. Their linebackers are really undersized. I mean, these guys go really like 215, 220. So they take educated guesses to come up and fill the hole. And they're just not big enough to take on big, strong linemen. So they just have a problem as far as a defensive talent problem. I think Miami needs to run the ball with their offensive line like they did against Texas A&M and just be a little more successful in the red zone. And then as far as trying to stop Drake May, who I think is really good. I mean, not only a real good passer, he's an underrated runner. What I found Notre Dame had success with, the best rushing tactic was not trying to go all out and just getting a sack. As far as they did a lot of twisting, and they would have the most successful rushes were when they slanted their defensive tackles out and then their defensive ends looped inside. It confused May, and he likes to go between the guard and tackle when he has a gap, if he doesn't see his first receiver open to run the ball, and it confused him there. So I think Miami can have some success on defense because they can go 8-9 deep on the defensive front. And a lot of teams get worn out. The game's going to be played in the afternoon, 4 o'clock start, and I think North Carolina might tire out. They just don't have the type of depth Miami has. Obviously, our receivers aren't great. One other thing also, Notre Dame had a lot of success with their tight ends in the game. And that's still Miami's strength right now. So I think Miami's actually a little bit better team if they can run the ball and limit May as far as on the big plays. I think they got a good chance to win this game. Not a game I'm giving my clients, but I think Miami's going to probably win this game, something like 30 to 24 or 34-27. So
Well,
I would lay the 3 points if I had to choose a side.
well, and that's interesting. Is of course we're giving you the numbers here. Miami -3, courtesy of BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, Lee Sterling, based on that score prediction you gave us, you're probably not going to be smashing the over 65.5.
No, because I think the game plan for Miami is to run the football, not open
Yeah,
it up. I mean, they can hit on some big plays because North Carolina's defense is bad. Like I said, their safety is probably the only guy who's a really good player. Their defensive line, which returned, I think, 3 out of 4 starters and they had a transfer come in, was expected to be much better. Just they've been very underwhelming this year, so they just have no depth, and they got to outscore you. That's the only way they can win. If May's hot, he can light it up. He is a
yeah,
really. At one point, they're trailing in the game 21-14. He throws a dime to his receiver on a bomb. Antoine Green, the ball. He's a long
the deep threat.
ball threat.
Yeah.
Josh Downs, number 11, is their guy they go underneath in crossing routes more with. He'll catch more balls usually, but Green he throws it right in his hands and he drops it. And these had a lot of breaks go against them, and like I said, their defense was not good in that game. And once you get behind double digits against Notre Dame, they're just going to ground and pound you and keep away. So should be a fun game. I think we'll know after this game where we stand. But with the extra week to prepare, I expect Miami to, have extra time to game plan. Might see a few wrinkles from Gaddis, maybe a little bit of hurry up at times, not often. I think you want to wear this team out here and keep them on the field, the defense. But like I said, we're gonna know a lot more after this game where we stand in the ACC.
So there you go. That is why Miami is favored. Huge shout out to Lee Sterling. Make sure you check out his show every single day. He hosts Locked On Bets, does an awesome job in ParamountSports.com. Lee, thank you so much. Enjoy the games this weekend.
Okay, thanks, Alex.